All right, let's dive into a really fascinating piece of 19th century writing today. It's a sharp, no-holds-barred critique of Freemasonry. But what makes it so interesting is who wrote it. This wasn't an insider spilling secrets. Nope. It was an observer, someone totally excluded from their rituals, a woman known only as a daughter of Dan. We're going to unpack her powerful perspective.
So, right out of the gate, our author kicks things off with a question that gets straight to the heart of the matter. She's not just asking for some dictionary definition of Masonic principles. No, she's really challenging the whole foundation of the institution. She's asking, do its members actually live by the values they say they hold? And really, this one question is what drives her entire investigation.
So who is this person guiding us through this critique? Well, she identifies herself as one of those that have always been excluded from the rights and benefits of the institution. You know, her position as an outsider is actually her superpower here. She can't see the secret handshakes or ceremonies, so she has to judge the tree by its fruit. She's evaluating Masonry based on the one thing she can see, the public character and actions of its members.
Now, before she starts tearing things down, she does something really clever. She first builds something up. She lays out a standard, a vision of what a Mason is supposed to be, based on the very principles the organization claims to champion. This creates this incredibly powerful benchmark that she's about to use to measure the reality she sees all around her.
I mean, just look at the high bars she sets here. A Mason, in her view, shouldn't just be a good guy at the lodge meetings. He should be a true pillar of his community, a faithful brother, an honorable citizen, a kind husband, a loving father. The whole idea is that these virtues should ripple outward, creating this positive influence that benefits everyone. It's a complete vision of what a moral character should look like.
And for our author, this isn't just some nice-to-have individual thing. The way she sees it, the actions of every single member directly reflect on the entire fraternity. So living up to these high ideals, that's the only way the honor of the whole institution can be kept pure and untarnished. The stakes, for her, really couldn't be any higher.
Okay, so after setting up this incredibly noble ideal, she delivers a total gut punch. She pivots from the perfect Mason to the reality she sees, and let me tell you, she does not hold back one bit. She calls the unprincipled member a moral pestilence. Oof. And this right here, this is her core argument. Being a member of any group, especially one that claims it has a high moral purpose, is totally meaningless without personal integrity. A man who lacks good principles doesn't just fail to contribute, he actively harms the institution from the inside out. He becomes a detriment to its goals and, in the end, a curse to himself.
This chart just lays the contrast out so starkly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the ideal member, the guy who upholds sacred values, who's a benefit to his community. And on the other side, you have the corrupt member, the one who profanes those same values, who gambles and lies, and seeks out, as she puts it, low and vicious society. The gap between the promise and the reality is just massive, turning what should be a benefit into a moral poison. And just listen to this description. It's maybe her most vivid and damning image in the whole piece. She describes a man who messes with intoxicating drinks until he's no longer a man at all. He is, in her words, a walking brandy cask. Wow, it's such a brutal metaphor for the complete loss of humanity and moral control, just a person totally consumed by their vice.
And the damage, she argues, just spreads everywhere. This person isn't just harming himself, he is literally poisoning the air with his breath, and poisoning the entire community with his foul actions and his words. He ends up destroying the happiness of everyone who has to associate with him, especially the virtuous, noble, and aspiring.
But this isn't just a fiery takedown, It's also a call to action. After exposing the corrupt reality, the author shifts her focus to building something better. She offers a vision for reform, a path back to what she sees as the institution's true purpose. And she frames it all around this really powerful metaphor. This is where she completely redefines the whole idea of building. She says she doesn't expect Masons to be out there building temples of stone. Instead, the real work, the important work, is constructing a spiritual building inside every lodge. And this temple isn't made of granite and mortar. It's built from the moral, honest, and upright lives of its members. So, how do they build this spiritual temple? Well, she lays out a pretty clear three-step path. First,
Members have to really reflect on the duties they swore to uphold. Second, they need to actively get to work building that spiritual, moral structure. And finally, and this is the big one, they have to prove their commitment through their actions out in the real world by living and dealing on the square of equal and exact justice. But our author is also a realist. She gets that this path is not easy. She even talks about hearing from a good Mason who was just deeply discouraged. He said that even when the corrupt members pretended to listen to advice, it was only to be more sly in their workings of iniquity. It's a pretty cynical and weary perspective, but it's one she feels is really important to address. Her reply to that cynicism is just this powerful call for persistence. She directly challenges the idea of giving up. She tells the good members, do not be weary in well-doing. She even quotes scripture encouraging them to keep sowing those seeds of virtue morning and evening, because you never know which ones will grow. The work of reform, she insists, must never, ever stop. So, this brings us to her conclusion. She's laid out her critique, she's made her call to action, and now she anticipates the backlash. She knows some people will say that she, an outsider, a woman, has no right to write or even think about this subject. And her final words are this incredible defense of her right to do exactly that. And her response is this profound declaration of intellectual freedom. She basically says, yeah, others might try to silence my voice or stop my pen, but they can never, ever control my mind. That act of thinking, of observing and forming a judgment, is an internal freedom that nobody can take away from you. She claims her right to think, and with it, her right to critique.
And she leaves us with this simple repeating plea. Oh, that everyone would think, think, think. It's a message that goes so far beyond 19th century Masonry, right? It's a call for all of us to self-reflect, to think critically, and to have the courage to measure our actions against our ideals. Which really leaves us with a final question. In our own lives, in our own institutions, are we brave enough to think about the gap between what we say we believe and what we actually do?